here. Okay.
Yeah, let's touch on those
All
real
right.
quick.
So let's run through. Yeah. So let's run through a seller's brochure, guys. We figured this one out a couple weeks ago. Essentially, you got to realize when you're speaking with business owners, you're essentially pitching them the same thing over and over and over. Now, there's people who are nervous. There's people who don't have the abilities. There's people that forget in the moment. That's all fair. You're under negotiations. That's a totally different ballpark if you haven't been involved in many. So myself, I just see it. It's easier for to convey a message when it's written. They could read it, they could understand it, they could process it, instead of just telling them. Zig Ziglar said, "We're taught to doubt what we hear and believe what we see." So if we could tie both together, that's a powerful tool. So we came up with what is the seller's brochure. Essentially, the seller could sit down, take a look at it, analyze what we're offering, and see the difference between us and them. So as you can see over here, we got the front page, talks about my company, my name, my position, my phone number, my email. Very simple. Let's move on to our approach. What's our approach? Well, we work with business owners to provide them a seamless transition or exit, often one which enables them to remain in the company in some capacity. This is very important. Private equity does not allow business owners to remain in the company after the sale, as they're looking to replace them with someone else. A lot of small business owners, majority I'd say, have an emotional tie with the business. Mom and pop, they have an emotional tie with the business. The business is their baby. There's two reasons why someone sells: time or money, right? And also, these guys, if it's the time part of things, maybe they want to get out of the day-to-day activities, focus their time on something more productive. They want to get out of the 100-hour work week. So that's where we offered them the opportunity of either taking a active role in the company, which would be a CEO position. They could look to expand customer base, bring in more contracts, look for other companies to network with, create synergism, so on and so forth. Or they could remain as an advisor to us. They could come in, take a look around, see how things are going, give their input. But what we want is a minimum 12 months transitory period where the owner's still there. That is important. The biggest issue that makes or break deals is not the numbers, but the culture clash. Not only culture clash, but these guys have seen this owner for so many years. They're accustomed to his way of doing things. They're just seeing him there. So if you got him around, the people see the people are more at ease in regards to a transition. Business as usual. John's there. He's looking over us, making sure everything's good. So you want to put that in. This means business owners can be a part of the growth without being the one shouldering all the responsibility. And that is important. Reason is we acquired the company. So essentially, we take over the responsibility. So they could still be a part of it and experience growth, take part in the profits without having any risk or liability involved. That is amazing. We always have growth in mind for the businesses we acquire, as we look to honor the legacy of the business and we look to make them reach their highest potential in the industry. We show that we have plans for the company. You there with me, Nancy? My one liner:
Yeah,
us,
I'm listening. I'm following you.
yeah, us versus them. We look to honor the legacy of the business and build upon it. That's all you got to say, man. We look to honor the legacy of the business and build upon it. Now, there's people, private equity, I say, which are the guys who are mostly involved in the M&A space. They disrupt operations because they come and change everything, right? So showing that, it means we care. Remember, these guys have an emotional tie with their business. The business is their baby. Buy and build overview. We don't do turnarounds. Reason is, for turnarounds, if you don't have experience, it could get risky, but you need capital from your side, essentially an equity infusion from your side, out of pocket. Yeah, you could request the PPP, pump it in, use it as working capital, or you could get a working capital loan. But it depends how much of a turnaround you need to do. If the business is in really bad conditions, there's a 50-50 chance, and I don't like to play with fire. So roll-ups, the problem with roll-ups is people, yeah, we're looking to acquire various businesses, but we're not just acquiring, let's say, 18 physician offices. We're building one company, acquiring and merging onto it. So it's essentially one big business, not 18 businesses. That's where the problem occurs. There's clash of essentially culture. You got dudes who are sharks. They're all day in the company, in the work, putting in 100%, and then you bring these new cats who are laid back, chill, want to just work 4 days a week, 6 hours a day. There's not going to be a very good response. There's going to be culture clash. So that's what breaks the deals. Hey guys, common billionaire. Just want to make sure everybody's following up. So the buy and takeover. This is usually the standard transaction. Essentially, the buyer will take over the company and restructure it to their wants. That means replacing majority, if not all, management, which disrupts the company's internal operations, incurring lots of debt, essentially starving the business of cash flow, which leads to bankruptcies. That is key, and does not allow the owner to be a part of the business anymore. Now, if you can see from the left side and from the right side, well, the right side looks way better, more pleasant to the eye. And I did it for a reason, it's subconscious. So on the right side, we have the buy and build. There's a new way of growth for business owners. In this case, we look to keep the owner on board for a smooth transition and have them be a part of the growth. We look to maintain legacy. That means instead of replacing everybody, we look to provide them the necessary tools they need to succeed, alongside use the company as a platform in which we integrate other businesses to expand customer base and maintain a dominant position in the marketplace alongside distribute risk. Boom. He could take his time, analyze it, go over it way better than reading it from. And it packs everything. Look, we talk about instead of replacing, we look to provide them the necessary tools they need to succeed. Not only does the business owner have an emotional tie with the company, they have an emotional tie with their employees, especially if they've been since day one or since the start, right? They don't want to see them get cut off like that. So we want to tell them, hey, John, we're looking to keep them in place and actually offer them tools with which they can grow. The process, what's the process? We start at the top. We acquire a platform company. We look to acquire a business that has many moving parts to use as the platform. An example, a hospital, a medical lab, right? Second, management control. After we acquire the business, we look to implement management standards to ensure smooth operation. This will allow us to integrate and grow efficiently. Then we got identify best integrations. We then look to analyze which are the best integrations for the company in order to minimize the risk and promote growth. Fourth, we then acquire and merge. Once we've identified targets, we look to acquire them and merge them to our platform company and integrate a standard of operations. And let's finish with liquidation. Once we've built our self-sustained company, we can then go public or sell to a larger player. This will create massive returns. Now, this is more corporate speech. This is for, if the guy has more experience or it's a larger company that appreciate that information more. But also, we don't want to disregard the other people that are not yet at that level. So, in summary, we start at the bottom, moving up. We look to retain cash flow. We look to retain as much cash flow in order to weather any market effects and capital for operations. Self-sustainability, by supplying our own products, staffing our own people, doing our own billing, we're able to minimize risk as we're not dependent on third-party operators. Expansion, the best sale is not the new sale, but the old sale. We look to expand our service range to attend various needs of our patients under one roof. That's expansion in the buy and build. Market dominance. People would rather buy more from one trusted provider. In essence, by expanding our operations, we can reach a wider customer base and target niche areas that others don't attend, and will then give us a dominant edge against competitors. That is key. We have a brand people trust, more products. That means we have customer maximization. By doing that, we also have customer retention. Then let's end it with capitalization. In turn, this will increase revenue, profits, equity value, allowing us to provide greater options for the employees, and most importantly, provide the owner more value per dollar share. They would be getting 60 to 40 cents on the dollar due to taxes. So let's talk about that. Business liquidation. What the seller accounts for? Well, the seller accounts for any outstanding debt. The company has to be delivered along its assets free of any debt. Period, point blank, end of story. We're not buying debt. Working capital. The seller has to provide working capital of minimum 3 months operations. That's something else that comes out of his pocket. Taxes. The seller will incur a minimum of 40% capital gain taxes. That just ate up what, 60% of his dollar? There you go. How can the seller retain a higher dollar value? So we got the problem. What's the solution? Well, we got a solution. Just taking into account capital gain taxes will, at a minimum, take 40% of the value of the sale of the business. In order to minimize that, we can seller finance a higher percentage over a series of years with interest on it. That will compensate for any tax losses, and you'll be able to gain more over time. Not only that, the smaller the amount we finance initially will free up cash flow that we can then use as working capital to cover any current liabilities, so the seller does not have to cover out of pocket, and will allow us to expand operations, which we can then provide the seller a higher cash out value without the risk. And we're going to talk about that in a minute once we plug in the numbers in our financial calculator. But in essence, you pitch them your model, how you differentiate yourself from the rest, what you're offering, what you're looking to do upon the completion of the transaction, which is basically expansion, what the seller accounts for, how he could retain a higher dollar value. That in just a couple slides. And that's what you call professionalism, and you know what the fuck you're doing. This is how we get LOIs. This is how we get deals. Perception equals reality. This looks like a Fortune 500 slide. It doesn't look like Joe's and Joe's, right? So we got to level up. Any comments there, Ansi?
Nah. I mean, again, perception is reality, right? So you want to make it look like you did that on purpose, not something you put together. But again, it depends on how serious you're taking it. Like I said, I'm already operating a billion-dollar corporation in my mind, so I'm going to do everything. I'll take all the necessary steps like that, to have a better perception. So that way, the next guy that comes around and just give them, some one pager or whatever the case is, or don't give them anything like this, my chances are a lot better, right? I mean, of course, there's other moving parts to it, but this is going to drastically increase your chances.
Absolutely. You got to understand, we're not the only guys doing this, but either you're first or you're different, and we're definitely different. So it's up to you to either follow everybody else and just eat off the crumbs, or take the pie yourself. So now let's move on. Any last things before we move on to a financial calculator, Ansi?
No, I'm good.
Okay. So